How's it going, everybody? I'm Kiever Edward Conwell II. Everybody knows me as Mac, and this is my co-host.
Hi everyone, I'm Kate Alegado.
And today, me and Kate are going to talk about teams, team building, and how teams work out in the startup.
Yeah, I actually pitched this idea to Mac because I'm a I'm a contractor, a marketing contractor at Trait, and I used to work at a startup where it was a team of three, but now I'm like a team of one. So I'm really missing kind of like that team cohesion. And knowing that Mac has founded two startups, I really wanted to get his insight on the team dynamics.
So, when it comes to teams, I'll say having a team is definitely important. There's only so much time in a day. The more help you have, the better. You don't want to have too much help because at the early stage, there's a lot of work to be done, but you don't want too many people stepping on each other's toes. You kind of want to have a clear vision and a group of people who can, power through on that vision together. But team is definitely, definitely important. And also understanding everybody's role and understanding that as a team, especially the earlier stage of a startup you are, that everybody's roles overlap.
So Mac, when you started Given, how was that with regards to your team? Because I knew you and Given through Tech Breakfast, and I remember just seeing your face and you telling everyone what it was, but it was just constantly you. So I really didn't know if you even had a team back then.
So that's a function of being CEO of a company where no matter how much you talk about your team or how much you praise them or tell people about them, you're the face, you're the one everybody remembers. You're essentially the quarterback of your team. So when you're the CEO, like a quarterback, you get too much praise when things go right, and you get too much fault when everything goes bad. But as far as my team, when my first startup, Given, that's an interesting story in the fact that our team all came together by accident. So my two co-founders, Mike and Sam, I had known Mike. Me and Mike were friends in college, and me and Sam had been friends since middle school. And those two met because of me. So they got together, and they were both, entrepreneur minded, and they were thinking about doing something. And Mike told Sam he had an idea, and Sam decided to go work with them. Well, when I found out that they were working together, I was like, hey, I'm both of you guys' friends. How come nobody talked to me about it? And that was because at the time I was working on my own projects and had my hands into a lot of different things. And they were concerned. It's like, hey, you're already doing your own thing. We figured you were busy. So I stopped everything I was doing. It's like, hey, I want to work with you guys. And that was primarily because I've been trying to do things by myself and I wasn't getting anywhere. So I figured if I work with, two more people who I knew were really gifted in coding and developing, that, maybe we'd actually get to a finish line somewhere along the way. So I joined their team. And our original team dynamics was completely screwed up. We were three developers, so we just figured the three of us could build things together and we could build quickly and build cool products and that would work. And it wasn't until about like 10 months to a year in we realized there was a lot more to building a website or building a web app than just building it. There's these things called marketing, investing, networking. Like there's so many more components out there. And so I started going to events and I started networking and I started learning more about the startup culture. And I grew into the CEO role and kind of transitioned from being a hacker to a hustler, which was weird because developing is the only way I've ever made money in my professional life.
Mm-hmm.
And here I am taking on this role where I'm doing a lot more public speaking, networking, marketing, sales, and a lot less coding. And it got to a point where my team was like, hey, Mac, why don't you just focus on doing the networking and building opportunities for us, and we'll focus on the coding. And during that process, the two of them were coding, and my co-founder, Sam, who's extremely detailed-oriented, kind of grew into the operations role of handling all the little day-to-day details that people don't like to deal with sometimes, like finances and things like that. And my other co-founder, Mike, he's just an uber hacker. Like, he just loves and loves and loves to build things.
Mhm.
So our team over time grew into a very, very good team. And Sam started to grow better and better in the front end stuff. So, Sam kind of became the front end operations guy. Mac became the Uber back end developer, and I became the CEO. And it just kind of transitioned that way.
Mhm.
So we created a great team without even knowing it, without even trying. So my first time around was actually really lucky.
But you didn't consider adding into your team, like trying to find a business developer or even trying to find a marketer?
Yeah, we looked into adding people to our team, but when you add people to a team, it becomes difficult, especially the early stage.
Mhm.
Especially, when you've had a team together that's been working really hard for a year and a half, 2 years, 3 years, and you start wanting to add people on. You want to add people on, but then the question comes up about equity, and that gets really difficult. That can get murky. Or you'll add people on, and they don't have the same work ethic or enthusiasm as you do about the product.
Mhm.
Or you want to add people on, and they just want to be paid, and you don't have a lot of financing, you don't have a lot of money.
Mhm.
So when adding people on, that can become difficult. The 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 sooner you have people who believe in your product and want to work with you, especially at the early stage startup before you're funded, the better. Um, once you get funding, it's easier to find the right people who you can hire. But
Mhm.
bringing the right people on day one is really difficult, especially when you don't have the funds and people are just going on the belief or the people are joining because of the idea. They love the idea, and they feel like the people around them are the right people to make the idea come to life.
What would you advise someone such as myself who's really wanting to, I guess, get into a team, but is having the hardest time, or just, I don't know, like any advice on that?
Um, if you're looking to join a team, there are a few products out there like cofounderslab.com. They're really good. I know several people have found co-founders that way. There's another site called Founder Dating. They go through a really stringent process to see how serious people are. But I would say if you're trying to find the right team, there's several different ways you can go about it. A good way to find a co-founder, find the teams through hackathons. I know several teams that have met at hackathons where you'll go to a hackathon and you actually get to work with somebody for a period of time over a weekend, and you get to see how they work. You get to see what their intensity level is, what they can handle, what they can't handle. And you get to see if they're really serious about starting a project or doing some or working on a project, as opposed to they're just there fun for the weekend. And you're able to make connections to find the right co-founder, right fit. Another way I've seen people come together is just through networking, through your network and going to events, going to local tech events, and just start putting out the whispers that like, hey, this is my skill set. My skill set's in marketing. My skill set's in front end development. My skill set's in back end development. You know, my skill set's in sales, and I'm looking, maybe start talking to some teams, start to see what's going on in the community, and people start telling you like, oh, I know this entrepreneur is doing this. I know this team is doing that. You sound like you're perfect for that team, and they'll make the connections and introductions. So just like in the last video when I talked about getting the intro to investors, you
Mhm.
also get intros to other entrepreneurs, to potential teams and potential opportunities, which work the exact same way.
Well,
Um,
earlier on, you started to cut you off, but I don't want to like lose my train of thought on this one.
okay,
Earlier on, you said that or you even got on before the given team actually came together,
can you repeat that?
right?
I kind
So
of lost you.
how does an entrepreneur such as my Oh no, no worries. So earlier on, you were saying how you were juggling multiple projects before the given team came together,
Right.
right? So how does, I mean, I'm not gonna lie, I do that myself. Like I don't know, I think it's like an entrepreneurial disease or immature entrepreneurial disease that like I just love to dabble into multiple projects to experience things. So what's your insight of someone that wants to join team but continues to dabble with these little projects that could potentially go somewhere, or honestly they should just stop?
For me, it was a little different. Like for me, I just made up in my mind that these were two really good friends of mine. They were working on a project,
Hmm.
so I just stopped everything. It's like I'm just going to work with them.
Yeah.
Um, I knew what those two guys were capable of. I knew what I was capable of, and I just figured that when you put the three of us, we were an unbeatable team. So I was just comfortable in my mind to say, okay, I have these other projects. They're really cool, but I really want to work with these guys, and I want to give them my full attention. Like I know they're both going all in on this project, so I want to meet their expectations. And so that was just a function of the team and me wanting to work with those guys. Um, I don't know if it's that easy for everybody,
Hmm.
but I would say you have to look within yourself and look at that team and think really hard about, how much do I really love this idea? How much do I love this team? And if you feel something's the right fit, just give it a shot. Because my original idea was we were going to work together for 3 or 4 months, build something really cool. I was going to learn some more, maybe get some better in my development, and then maybe move on to something new or just see what happens. At the time when we first started the project, there was no way for me to envision or to see that far long term. Like I said,
Yeah.
I didn't know anything about startups. I just knew about building a web app.
Hmm.
It just kind of snowballed into something much bigger.
Hmm. Now you have me pondering. Maybe I'm working on too many projects. So I guess if someone, I know you're working on the Redberry team now,
Right.
but and you guys are a bit, I guess, one person, two people more than given. How many?
Currently 5 of us.
So I mean, potentially you guys could be adding new members, but what kind of personalities or traits are you looking for if you were to add a member, especially coming from a CEO perspective or a founder, co-founder perspective?
So that's different for everybody. For me, I'm looking for people who are very go-getter, very hardworking, very willing to do things they're not comfortable with, and maybe
Hmm.
go above and beyond, and push themselves. Like, yeah, you had a bunch of stuff you had to do this weekend, but you're gonna put some of that stuff to the side because you had some code to bang out.
Hmm.
Um, but I think that's different for every individual, finding the right teammates. Some people try to find teammates who have the same lifestyle because you got to remember your core team who you start your company with also kind of builds out your initial company's culture.
Yeah.
So, I know some guys who are very health conscious, like to run marathons and go biking. Well, all their initial teammates had the same kind of, were into the same things. And that's
Hmm.
very much the identity or part of the culture of the company. Um, so for every person, it's different. For me, I'm just all about, do you have the skills to do the job and can I trust
Hmm.
you? So I'm on the culture side, I'm not so one dimensional, but
Yeah.
I'm very for me is very significant about how much you're willing to work and if you're built to be in a startup. I've done the startup thing before. You're 4 years in. It's a different kind of person to take that kind of beating day in and day out of running a startup.
Yeah.
So, there are plenty of people with the skill set. There are plenty of people with the ability to do it. It's just, do they have the mental capacity or the do they have the ability to take failure and to take the lack of time they get to spend with their significant others and their friends to put the right effort into building a great product. And so with Redberry, it was initially just me and one other guy, my designer and all around builder guy, Mark.
Hmm.
And I kind of started off and I just invited a whole bunch of people I knew, which is also it's also a little weird because I'm a software engineer by trade. I happen to know and be friends with a lot of software engineers, so it's easy for me to reach out to people who can build things.
Okay.
Also, through my networking and travels, I've met a lot of people who want to work with me just because they've seen my work before. They've
Hmm.
seen they've seen how I do what I do, and so it's easy for me to reach out. So we initially started off, it was like 7 or 8 of us. And I just contacted a bunch of people, brought them together, and said, this is the project, this is the idea, and we're just gonna build this out. And this is what everybody's role is. And I
Yeah.
kind of let the team funnel itself out. The people were really serious because everybody's always excited day one.
Of
But
course.
when you get to month two and you're still building,
Yeah.
you get to see where people's real excitement is. You get to see where people's work ethic is. And some people started to fall off by the wayside on their own. Other people, had to let them know, like, hey, you're not working hard enough. I don't know if this is the right thing for you. It's the right team for you. And the team just kind of evened itself out over a period of time. And I was able to see like who was serious about doing development, who was serious about helping with sales and marketing, and who were people I could work with and trust. Like if I say, hey, I need everybody on the team to finish out this application by tomorrow morning. Would everybody do it?
Yeah.
And the people on my team now, I know that about them. I know that if I call them at 2 in the morning, I can trust that they might answer their phone and be able to answer my question. And
Yeah.
if not, if I leave a message, they'll hit me up at 8 o'clock in the morning and be like, hey, sorry I missed your message, I was asleep. This is where I'm at, this is what's going on. Let's meet later let's meet later in the day and we can go over things face to face. So it all depends on what you're looking out of a team, what kind of work ethic you're looking for, and what kind of culture you're trying to build. Right now, I'm just trying to build a culture of hard work.
That's awesome. Well, honestly, that's all I really had in terms of questions that's been dabbling in my mind of should I join a team or should I not join a team? And I know that I am not the only person out there that's thinking this.
Yes, and before we go, just one more key thing I want to put out there about teams. When you're looking to put a team, especially to do a startup, they typically say you're looking for three main things. You're looking for a hustler, a hacker, and a designer. That means you're looking for somebody to sell your product, to put it out there, to market it, to get you introductions, to do your networking. That's your hustler. You're looking for your hacker. That's somebody who can build it. You want somebody who can build this product and make it work, make it functional. That's your developer, that's your hacker. And then you're looking for a designer. You're looking for somebody to make it pretty. Somebody who can design your user interface and understands the way the users want to interact with your product. Those are typically your three key things. And beyond that, you want to look for people who already have experience the in the space that your product is in. So if you're doing an e-commerce product, you want to look for people who have some expertise in that space. For your hustler, you might want to find somebody who's already worked for an e-commerce platform or who understands e-commerce or who has connections to e-commerce to get you moving. You want to find the hacker who's had experience building things before.
Mm-hmm.
But hackers are hard to come by. So if you just find somebody who's excited about your idea, hey, that's good enough. They can learn as you go. Having somebody who's willing to build and put in the time might be more important than finding a seasoned developer who might not work as hard as you need. And a designer, you just want to find somebody who's used to building beautiful products and who understands the mindset of the consumers or your target audience for the product you're building. So if you're building a product for, dentists, you might want to find a designer who's already done, dental products or who's done a product for a similar space, like in a medical space, or who understands med tech and understands the way that user interface should look or how it works. So, be very judicious with your team. Understand who you need and what your needs are of the team. And also, if you can't find the team right off the bat, don't let that hold you back. Whatever you can do individually to get things going, start doing that. You'll be surprised how much more effective you are in recruiting teammates when people can see that you're already doing things, see that things are already happening. Like, yes, you might not have the ability to build a website and your website's not coming, but you've already signed up, 30 potential clients because they believe in your idea. That goes a far, far longer way in recruiting people as opposed to just telling people you have an idea.
Mm-hmm. Thanks, Mac.
No problem. I hope this was helpful for everybody. Everybody, please be on the lookout for our next video next week. Not sure what the topic's going to be yet, but we're going to be putting these out every Monday, so be on the lookout for the Start of Mac Vlog with my co-host,
Kate Alegado. And if you guys don't put in your questions, a lot of these will a lot of these video vlogs or Google Hangouts are going to be questions that are pondering on Max and my noggin. So ask questions so then we can actually answer things that you guys are really looking forward to.
Yes, please, please, please send us some emails, tweet us, let us know what questions you have. I am more than happy to answer any questions out there about anything in the startup space and maybe even the personal space. We will have some videos talking about the personal life of the entrepreneur and how to handle that and the ups and the downs, the highs and lows, and all those good things. Well, have a good day, everybody, and see you next week.
Have a good one.